Hello everybody, I'm back again, and today I'm going to be doing part 3 or whatever of the thing that I'm doing. So I'm doing top 5 things that you might not know about postpartum in the immediate postpartum period. Specifically, I'm thinking of like when you're in the hospital, maybe shortly after leaving, but anyway. So I used my online group of friends to help me think of ideas. So some of these I might not actually have a story for myself, but I'm still gonna go ahead and use them because I think they're good. So number one is that I'm pretty sure it's from like the rapid decrease of hormones, but a lot of times after giving birth, you will shake uncontrollably, like just tremors. With the twins, this happened in the OR. I had vaginal birth to twins, but I had to deliver in an OR because that's how it goes with twins. Because of complications that could happen, you have to give birth in an OR. So even though I pushed them out, I had them in the OR, and I had the crazy, weird shaking thing happen right then and there, immediately after having the placentas come out, and yeah, so that was crazy. I mean, honestly, truly, like, it was just like I couldn't stop. And with Parker, I still had it happen, but it happened when I was at home, actually. So it happened, I think it was the third night. So she was born at 1 a.m., and then I spent one night in the hospital after that. And then we went home the next morning, and that night, I'm pretty sure that's when it happened. It's so hard to remember any of this time limit stuff, but still, that was within, like, you know, shortly after 48 hours. It was within 72 hours of having her, if I'm right about my timeline there. So it's definitely an immediate postpartum thing. It was really crazy. I actually woke up in the middle of the night doing that, having that happen. And it was just crazy. I mean, both me and my boyfriend thought that I must be hemorrhaging or something because I was just like, there's no reason for this to happen. But my initial thought was that it was low blood sugar because I drank something. I think I had like orange juice or something, and then it helped. So I was thinking, oh, well, it must be blood sugar. And I already have low blood pressure and all that, so I just assumed it must be that. But with more thinking about it, I realized it was probably just a delayed reaction of the same hormone drop that causes that. I definitely did not know about that until I was pregnant with the twins. It's something that people don't really talk about, but it seems to happen to a lot of people. Maybe not everybody, definitely everybody's different, but it's definitely something that happens to most people, I feel like. So it's definitely something to talk about. So yeah. And then number 2 is, it's a 2-part thing. So part 1 of it is that they massage you when after you give birth. So I didn't know this because I hemorrhaged with the twins. So they were kind of just constantly, continuously doing it. And pushing and all this stuff. And then they actually put a Foley balloon in me, so they weren't looking at my bleeding at all. So with the twins, I only had them check every change of shift with the bleeding. They would just look at the catheter and see if there was like blood in the catheter or something. And then, but with Parker, it was the more typical thing. So apparently it's like every 15 minutes for the first couple hours. And then it gets like the difference between when you're getting it done. It's bigger and bigger, and it's essentially every shift. So that's what happened with Parker. And I think I kind of knew about it, but I didn't really understand until it happened to me. It definitely is really painful, especially if you're in labor for a long time like I was, and if you, I was in so much pain from hemorrhaging and having them inside of me and everything that it was just like, I was so sore, and then pushing on me was just so painful. So I really, really hated that. And then to go along with that, you also have afterbirth contractions. So you'll have the afterbirth contractions no matter what because the uterus is contracting back down, but they are so bad. during breastfeeding. So I had them with both pregnancies, after both pregnancies, of course. But with the twins, it definitely wasn't as bad as it was this time. I mean, I would have them mainly while breastfeeding, but even then I would have them like random times. I remember on Halloween night, we were driving around looking at decorations since we couldn't go trick-or-treating, and my girls really aren't that old enough. They're only 2.5. They're not really old enough to care about trick-or-treating really, because they're not really going to eat candy anyway. So I figured that because we're not really supposed to be trick-or-treating, we would just look at decorations and have a late bedtime. So that's what we did that night. And I remember we were driving home and we were picking up food on the way, and I was just like in so much pain in the car. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like folded over in the car, just like these cramps are like these contractions, I guess, or oh my gosh. And I feel like people don't really talk about that. I feel like if you watch a lot of YouTubers and you watch postpartum stuff, then you probably know about it, because they are always talking about like after ease and stuff like that, which is like I don't know, I never took it, but I think it's like a supplement that you take. It's supposed to help with the contractions afterwards, but yeah. It's really bad, and apparently it gets worse with every single pregnancy, so we'll see about that, because it was pretty bad with my second pregnancy, or my second delivery, and yeah, I don't know if it can really get much worse than that, but I do plan to have more children, so we will see. And then number 3 is that they want you to measure your output of urine, pee, after giving birth. I don't know if this is an epidural thing or a giving birth thing, because most people have epidurals. So it definitely happened for me, and I heard from someone else that it happens to them too, and they told me to put it on the list. But I'm guessing it might be an everything thing, just because there could be swelling either way, and it's really just for the swelling. It's not about like having a UTI or anything that's like specific to having a catheter. So I'm guessing it has to do with just giving birth. But I actually didn't do it with my second delivery, because I thought that the first delivery, I had a doctor come in the morning to check on me and ask how I'm doing and everything. And I was just like, get this catheter out of me. It's the only thing causing pain. I effing hate it, blah, blah, blah. And he was like really skeptical. I'm like, okay, but we're not really supposed to take it out for 24 hours. And then if you can't pee, then like you have to have it put back in. And I'm like, I don't care. So I thought it was just because he was taking it out prematurely, in his eyes at least, that they wanted me to do output. And I had to like prove that I could pee or whatever. But then it didn't really seem like it was premature when I was giving birth the other time with Parker. They told me I could have the catheter taken out immediately, like literally as soon as the golden hour was over. I had a nurse ask if I wanted to have it taken out right away, and I was like, yes. And then we didn't, because she was like, wait, maybe we should give it more time for your leg to stop being so numb, because I had excessive numbness in one of my legs. So I was like, okay, that's reasonable. So we waited till the next morning. I was just like, screw it. Like, it wasn't bothering me that time. So I was just like, I'm really, really tired. I'd rather go to sleep. And in the morning, when they check on me, I can always take my catheter out then. We'll like check on my numbness, So that's what we did. And she didn't say anything about measuring my output, so I didn't do it. But it's definitely something that they have you do. They want you to pee a certain amount in a certain time. I can't remember, because they didn't tell me since giving birth to the twins, which was 2.5 years ago, so I cannot remember. But yeah, that's definitely something that they have you do. And I don't think anybody talks about that, because I obviously did not know about that at all. And then number 4 is that, this is kind of obvious, but I don't know. I think people who are in my position might not know. Breastfeeding's really hard. Like, really, really hard. I didn't really have a chance to breastfeed with the twins from the source. Everything was hard with them, because they were premature, and it was just like, everything was hard with them. Luckily, they weren't too premature. They were born at 33 weeks, so it wasn't like anything crazy. But they didn't have enough energy to truly latch, so my breastfeeding couldn't count for anything for like weeks, and I was pumping, and it was just like, I don't know, nothing was normal there. But having a normal birth experience with a full-term baby, I really, really saw how breastfeeding is truly really hard because, I mean, my mom always made it seem like it was so easy. My mom breastfed me and my sister for like years and years, and she was just like, oh, it's natural, you'll just know what to do, and they'll know what to do, and together you'll work together and it'll be fine. And it's not painful, and it's not this, and it's not that. And for me, I did not know what to do. I mean, I knew the general idea of like, she instinctively knew enough about latching that she was able to latch on me, but I didn't know how to hold her. I still have trouble holding her. 6 weeks postpartum. She's 6 weeks old today. I still have trouble sometimes holding her, figuring things out. I'm getting a lot better, but I'm not really to the point where I can comfortably feed her anywhere. I just try. You know, I do the best I can because I don't want to be like locked in my house. So if I am out, I am still going to feed her, you know. But I'm using a nipple shield because it was just too hard with latching. Her latch was really strong, but it was giving me bruises and it was painful, and my letdown is painful, and just all this stuff. So it's definitely a lot harder for some people than others. If breastfeeding came easy to you and it wasn't too painful or not painful at all, that's fantastic. But I definitely think that people who are raised in a very pro-breastfeeding family, like I was, might not ever know that breastfeeding's so hard. You hear other people saying breastfeeding is hard, but you're like, but that's because they didn't try, or they didn't do this, or they didn't do that. And like, not that I'm judging anybody before I knew, because obviously I'm not trying to judge other moms or anything. Just, you know, I'm thinking to myself, like, well, maybe like it's just not as important to them as it is to me, or it was to my mom, you know. So, like, for them, it's not worth it, or it's not this, or it's not that. And I'm trying to think of why, like, reasons why it would be hard for them. But it's definitely hard. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing at all, and I would, like, be in tears in the hospital almost because I was so concerned that she wasn't latching properly, and I was doing something wrong, and, like, just all this stuff. And it's completely normal to feel that way. So don't feel like it's not. And then lastly, I actually had never heard of this, but when I thought about it, it was true. One of the girls in my group told me that when she gave birth, one of the nurses or the team or whatever gave her this, I guess, like a worksheet, not a worksheet, like a paper information sheet or something that was like the second night. And it was all about how the second night's the worst, and you don't sleep, and it's hard, and they're fussy, and all this stuff. And I was like, really? But then I thought about it, and I was like, maybe it's just because of when she was born and how old she was at the time. But the second night was absolutely the worst, for sure. Like, that's the night I was in the hospital because she was born so early in the morning. So the first night was like, you know, she was born at night, and then we made it through the night, and then the whole next day. But I just remember, like, we actually kept the shade closed the whole time because I don't know, I don't like light that much, and I didn't really think about it, you know, like, we're trying to sleep. Whenever she's sleeping, we're falling asleep and waking up, and I didn't even know what time it was. I was completely out of it. Like, I had no idea how long I had been asleep for when I was asleep, or awake for when I was awake, or anything. I just knew that, I don't know. I remember, I think I showered at like 4 in the morning because I thought it was the middle of the day. I remember thinking it was like the middle of the day when they came in at 6 a.m. to like start doing our discharge stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, when are we gonna go home? And then looking at the time and being like, dude, it's only 6 in the morning. Like, we ended up going home at like 9 or 10 or something like that. So it was still fairly early, but I remember it felt like it was like 5 p.m. by then. Like, I had no idea what was going on. And it was so hard. And, you know, especially if you're trying to breastfeed, like, I'm trying to latch her every 1.5 to 2 hours, and I'm trying to get her to feed for 15 minutes, and it's like, it's painful and it's hard, and I'm asking for nurses to come in and help me, and they're busy, and it's just like, the second night was absolutely the hardest. And then I came home, and not that it was easy when I came home, but it was definitely not as hard as it was the second night, because I think a lot of people's milk comes in the third day. So by the third night, you have your milk in, and they're not cluster feeding as much, and it's not as painful necessarily because they're not trying, like, you know, your milk is coming out easier than it was before it's in, and it's just colostrum. So yeah, it was definitely hardest, and I don't think anybody's ever talked about that. I've never heard that before. I just noticed that it was the truth in my experience, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. So those are 5 things that you might not know, and yeah. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous day and a fabulous week and weekend. Happy holidays. I'm so excited. I'm actually getting my tree tomorrow, and I'm so excited for that. So, yeah. Everybody have a nice time. Okay.